Welcome back to The Explainer. So, pharma companies absolutely love to talk about global access, right? But how do we actually objectively measure it? Well, today we're cutting straight through the corporate PR. We're going to look at the exact metrics used to grade big pharma's true commitment to healthcare equity. Trust me, the numbers behind the medicine are absolutely fascinating. Let's dive in.
Because honestly, this is the big question, isn't it? Every time you turn on the news, you hear totally different narratives about drug prices and healthcare access. But to separate the spin from reality, we need to understand the exact frameworks that financial analysts and regulators use to strip away the fluff and grade big pharma on access and pricing. And our baseline scorecard for this is the SASB standards. That's the Sustainability Accounting Standards Board, which is now overseen by the ISSB. For the biotech and pharmaceutical sector, they mandate these really rigorous percentage-based disclosures, meaning companies can't just vaguely say, hey, we're doing good things. No, they have to report exact, hard performance metrics. Section 1. Promoting access to medicines, evaluating the qualitative initiatives. So before we get into the hard math of pricing, we have to evaluate how these companies actually get their products to the people who need them to make sure they're targeting the right areas and, not just focusing on the most profitable markets. Metric 240A.1 requires them to report actions focused specifically on priority diseases and priority countries. And the catch? They don't get to just invent what a priority is. These are globally recognized targets defined by the Access to Medicine Foundation's index to ensure efforts hit the most critical conditions worldwide. Now, what's really wild here is the sheer breadth of these disclosures. It's not just about tossing some surplus pills into a tax-deductible donation bin. Companies actually have to detail everything. We're talking about how their research and development is geared toward access, their patents, logistics, and even their public policy and market influence efforts. It paints a really comprehensive picture of how deeply access is woven, or isn't woven, into their core business model. Section 2. The WHO Prequalified List. Standardizing global health solutions. Moving beyond those general initiatives, we're looking at the verified products making a real difference on the ground. To measure this objectively, the standards require companies to explicitly list their authorized products that meet the strict standards of the World Health Organization's Prequalification of Medicines program. This list is essentially the global gold standard. It assures international procurement agencies that a medication is genuinely safe, effective, and hits those stringent quality benchmarks. And here's where it gets strict. The accounting rules prevent companies from artificially inflating their impact. Basically, no double dipping allowed. So if a company makes the exact same active pharmaceutical ingredient, or API, in both a 20 milligram tablet and, say, a 30 milligram capsule, it's only counted once. Unique API combinations count separately, sure, but anything with a suspended status, tossed out entirely. It's an incredibly rigorous way to measure actual unique contributions to global health. Section 3. Tracking affordability and pricing. The hard numbers of healthcare. All right, this is where we transition to the quantitative percentages and the financial realities of the industry. Whenever you see a headline about a massive drug price hike, this exact matrix of metrics is what analysts are looking at to find the truth across a global portfolio. Because of downward pricing pressures and cost containment, pharma companies are forced to lay all their cards on the table. They literally have to show the annualized percentage change in their weighted average prices. Section 4. List price versus net price. Understanding WAC and rebates. To truly grasp pricing, we have to contrast two fundamentally different numbers, and the divide between them is pretty stark. First, you have the list price, which is essentially the sticker price. In industry terms, that's the revenue-weighted average wholesale acquisition cost, or WAC. Think of it like the sticker on a new car at a dealership. But then, you have the net price. That is what's actually collected after all the hidden mechanics of rebates, discounts, and returns are stripped away. Companies have to report the percentage change for both of these metrics across their entire portfolio. And honestly, there is just nowhere to hide a massive price hike anymore. The framework forces companies to publicly out the single drug in their portfolio that had the highest percentage price jump compared to the previous reporting period. They must name the specific product and detail the annualized percentage change in both its list price and its net price. It's a major reality check. Section 5. Why these metrics matter. Transparency in global health. Let's connect why tracking these highly specific metrics matters for accountability. Companies can actually provide crucial context for these pricing shifts. They're able to break the data down by product type, showing the difference between their brand name drugs and their generics. They can disaggregate the data by global region. And perhaps most importantly, they can compare their price increases against trusted consumer inflation data. This shows us whether a price hike is just keeping up with regular inflation or if it's vastly outpacing it. So now that we know the exact scorecard used to track pharmaceutical equity, from those qualitative initiatives reaching priority countries all the way to the hard data of net price increases, the lingering question is, what do we choose to do with this transparency? The data is out there, it's rigorously standardized. The tools for measuring a company's true commitment to equitable healthcare absolutely exist, but how will investors, regulators, and even patients use this information to shape the future of global health? That is definitely something to think about.